Greetings and welcome to the 6th episode of Cities of Cyrodiil, where we try and fill the rather underpopulated void of the capital province of Tamriel by looking at a variety of town, village, and city mods for Oblivion. As always, I'm your host, Elf Guy, and today we have another 3 town mods for you, looking at small hamlets that range from the Blackwoods, the forests of the Nibbin Basin, and lakefront villages. You'll find download links to all of these down in the video description below. So let's go ahead and get started with our popular town mod of the month, which this time around is Mudwater By Phitt. This one adds a small black marsh style village along the border of Cyrodiil, inhabited pretty much entirely by Argonians. This is probably going to be one of the more unique town mods we'll be looking at today. The architecture and design here is certainly quite different from anything else in Cyrodiil, and it certainly seems more, fitting for the dark swamps of the province of Blackmarsh. In any event, this is a really, small village composed of only about a half dozen or so little huts here, built along a set of docks just barely above the swampy waters of this isolated bog. The Argonians who call this small village home mostly survive by fishing and trapping mud crabs in the swamps, as you can see here from the number of fishing nets and traps off to the side of these docking platforms here. And other than that, there's not a whole lot to see here. There's some interesting greenish bog lanterns here to light the way in between huts, but otherwise there's not a whole lot of infrastructure for this village, and I don't even think there's a road going out to it. But anyway, before we take a look at some of the interiors here, let's just pull up the map real quick. You can see Mudwater on the map here, and it's a fairly isolated village, with a somewhat lengthy commute to Leowin, and it's a bit close to the water here, but of course it does come up a map marker for convenience, so that's a nice little bonus there. And anyway, we're next going to be taking a look at some of the interiors of these huts and cottages here, and each of these Argonian homes is pretty unique, with an assortment of basic furniture and clutter in each one. And of course, there's more of those interesting, sort of bog lights that seem to use fireflies as a light source in here. And many of these homes naturally have residents, and nearly everyone in this village has some unique dialogue talking about the town, the other residents, and of course, quests for you to do. Mudwater comes with about 4 separate little quests for you to do, and ranging from everything from securing a source of trade for the village, to investigating new dungeons and other small activities. And anyway, moving on, you can see a somewhat larger interior here, with some rather unique Argonian cultural touches in the design, and each of these interiors is fairly nicely detailed and lived in, providing some realistic residences for the Argonians who prefer this isolated hamlet to, proper civilization. And of course, again, nearly every resident has a small quest here to do, such as the town's healing alchemist, who might need you to go search around for a rare ingredient. And as I briefly mentioned earlier, this settlement does come with 1 or 2 new dungeons for you to explore, and these are pretty atmospheric, a bit on the dark side caverns for you to check out. They certainly have a rather unique design that's a bit unlike anything else I've seen in Cyrodiil, and there's certainly a few, secrets waiting for you the further down you venture. And while Mudwater isn't exactly the largest settlement around, it more than makes up for its small size with its unique nature and well-rounded content, providing more than a few hours of questing, dungeon delving, and exploring for you to play through. And overall, Mudwater is a charming and unique hamlet in a part of Cyrodiil that's always been, lacking civilization. And with new quests, dungeons, and even a couple of trading options, it has more than enough content to persuade the average adventurer to drop in for a spell. And if you're at all interested in Argonian settlements, or just want, more content to pad your game with, you should definitely give Mudwater a try. And moving on to our new town mod of the month, we have Settlements of Cyrodiil-Clearwater Farms by Imhan123. Now, like pretty much all the other, small settlement mods that Imhan has released over the years, this is a small farming settlement designed to add an immersive little village of small farmsteads, shacks, and cottages to the province of Cyrodiil, providing, some of the much-needed food to keep the population of the numerous cities in the capital province well fed. Now, unlike most farming settlements, or at least, most of the ones that I've played, this one is fairly spread out, with farms built along the slopes and hills of the terrain here. The fields here are basically carved into the hillside, making for a rather interesting vertical settlement that slopes upwards with small isolated farms along the way. And the entire community is located along the Orange Road outside of Coral, and sort of along the way to Bruma. And due to the spread out nature of the settlement, you can actually find farms both up and down the Orange Road for, fair ways, with a variety of different types of farms catering to different crops, animals, and other various goods. There's even a maple farm up here, or what appears to be some sort of maple farm anyway, up the road here. And of course, there's also a small farmer's merchant stall, where you can, purchase some of the homegrown goods here. And anyway, you can see Clearwater Farms on the map here, and of course it does come with a map marker, though that teleports you to the center of the Orange Road, and you'll still need to do a fair bit of hiking to access some of the more remote farms. And real quick, we're going to be taking a look at a few of the interiors here, and some of these farmsteads are, little more than shacks, with just the basic necessities of this rough and tumble life, farming out in the wilderness. And here's another small shack, and each of these interiors are fairly detailed, with a variety of furnishings and places for the local NPCs to, rest at the end of a long day farming out in the fields. And there's really only one actual middle-class residence, which you can see here, and this home is kind of in the middle of the Clearwater Farm settlement, with a prominent perch to watch over the other homesteads. And of course, there's plenty of, middle-class furniture in here, as well as a dining room, kitchen, and bedroom. And overall, Clearwater Farms is an immersive addition to the countryside of Cyrodiil, and a set of farms help, provide the food that feeds the capital province. This village is, fairly small, with about half a dozen farmsteads along the Orange Road in total. And there's not a whole lot of services here, aside from a small farmer's vendor, where you can, purchase fresh food as you pass by. It does come with a map marker for fast travel, but otherwise, this is, mostly a town to help fill the void of Cyrodiil's countryside. And I'd certainly, recommend checking it out regardless, though. Finally, we have our underrated town mod of the month, which this time around is Lake Canulus Village by TESFU modding team. This is a small sort of Gold Coast style village located on the surprisingly underpopulated Lake Canulus, in a rather remote region of Cyrodiil that has notably very little in ways of civilization. And this is really a very small town, consisting of only about 4 buildings here, including a small tavern and a walkway that goes around this one small end of the lake here. And otherwise, there's not a whole lot else added to the landscape here, and I don't think there's even a proper road leading to this extremely remote outpost of civilization. And to get an idea of just how isolated this place is, let's take a look at the map here. You can see there's pretty much nothing nearby, no major cities or really any other settlements. This village stands alone, and of course, thankfully, it does come with a map marker, so you can teleport there quickly. But anyway, moving on to some of the interiors here, we're going to start things out with the tavern, which is where you'll find some of the local residents. And not only that, but this is also where you'll find the main quest for the town. It seems there's some bandits causing trouble in the area, and they need someone to go take care of it. And notably, most of these NPCs also have a bit of unique dialogue as well, and should you finish the quest, they'll even give you a place in town to call your own. And of course, this quest will involve some fighting, since bandits aren't, known for just leaving on their own accord. But you can also choose to negotiate with the bandit leader if you're, feeling talkative. Taking a look at just one more interior here, I believe this might be the player home that you get as a result of finishing the Little Bandit Problem quest. And it's your, fairly typical middle-class Gold Coast residence with a fair number of furnishings and decorations already included, with a kitchen, dining area, and a bedroom upstairs, of course. Now, overall, this is a rather small and isolated village, but it does help to populate an overlooked area of Cyrodiil, and also includes quests and a player home for you to, call your own, as well as a map marker. And, if you're looking for a bit more content to fill your game in with, you can't go wrong with, giving this mod a try. And anyway, that wraps up this video. We'll have another episode of Cities of Cyrodiil in about another month, so until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.